Okay, moving right along to step two. We're gonna start Bill's story, chapter one. War fever ran high in the New England town to which we new young officers from Plattsburgh were assigned, and we were flattered when the first citizens took us into their homes, making us feel heroic. Here was love, applause, war, moments sublime, with intervals hilarious. I was part of life at last, and in the midst of the excitement, I discovered liquor. Very important here. I forgot the strong warnings and the prejudice of my people concerning drink. In time, we sailed for over there. I was very lonely and again turned to alcohol. We landed in England. I visited Winchester Cathedral. Much moved, I wandered outside. My attention was caught by the doggerels of an old tombstone. Here lies a Hampshire grenadier who caught his death drinking cold small beer. A good soldier is ne'er forgot, whether he dieth of musket or by pot. Ominous warnings which I failed to heed. 22 and a veteran of foreign wars, I went home at last. I fancied myself a leader, for had not the men of my battery given me a special token of appreciation, my talent for leadership, I imagined, would place me at the head of a vast enterprise, which I would manage with the utmost assurance. So there we're seeing Bill's life is just, he's ego driven. Thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread, basically, for being a leader. Okay, continue to read. I took a night law course and obtained employment as an investor for a surety company. The drive for success was on. I would prove to the world I was important. We alcoholics tend to do that. We want other people to validate us. However, we have usually a hard time verifying or validating ourselves. There's usually some sort of inaccuracy about our own worth. Either we're super ego driven, which is completely superficial, or we have no confidence about ourselves whatsoever. And we need others to give it to us. It's something that we may not have inside of us. Continue to read. My work took me about Wall Street, and little by little I became interested in the market. Many people lost money, but some became very rich. Why not I? I studied economics and business as well as law. Potential alcoholic that I was, I nearly failed my law course. At one of the finals, I was too drunk to think or write. Though my drinking was not yet continuous, it disturbed my wife. We had long talks when I would still her forebodings by telling her that men of genius conceived their best projects when drunk, that the most majestic construction of philosophical thought were so derived. So here we are now trying to tame our significant other in order to justify our drinking. This is not a problem. People of success do this all the time, so on and so forth. By the time I had completed the course, I knew the law was not for me. The inviting maelstrom of Wall Street had me in grips. Business and financial leaders were my heroes. Out of this alloy of drink and speculation, I commenced to forge the weapon that one day would turn in its flight like a boomerang and all but cut me to ribbons. Living modestly, my wife and I saved $1,000. I went into certain securities and cheap and rather unpopular. I rightly imagined that they would someday have a great rise. I failed to persuade my broker friends to send me out looking over factories and management. But my wife and I decided to go anyway. So again, here's that personal, it's not even really a defect, it's just something that most of us have where we're going to prove the world wrong. That's kind of embedded in us since we were young, right? for better or worse. This is usually a typical personality trait that we all, or a lot of us, have. I had developed a theory that most people lost money in stocks through ignorance of markets. I discovered many more reasons later on. I gave up our positions, and off we roared on a motorcycle, the sidecar stuffed with tent, blankets, a change of clothes, and 3 huge volumes of financial reference service. Our friends thought a lunacy commission should be appointed. Perhaps they were right. I had some success at speculation, so we had a little money, but we once worked on a farm for a month to avoid drawing on our small capital. That was the last honest manual labor on my part for many days. We covered the whole eastern United States in a year. At the end of it, my reports to Wall Street procured me a position there and the use of a large expense account. The exercise of an option brought in more money, leaving us with a profit of several $1,000s for that year. So again, I'm going to prove you wrong, and he proved him wrong. I mean, he went out and did what he needed to do, came back, and Wall Street rewarded him for his efforts. For the next few years, fortune threw money and applause my way. He felt like he had arrived. We may have all felt that feeling at some point in our active addiction, or active recovery, active alcoholism, I mean to say, where we feel like we've arrived. We've come to. This is the place for us to be at. We're riding the wave of success, so to say. We are people who are highly driven for the most part. My judgment and ideas were followed by many to the tune of paper millions. The great boom of the late 20s was seething and swelling. Drink was taking an important and exhilarating part in my life. So drinking now became important to him, and he loved that it was a part of his life. There was loud talk in the jazz places uptown. Everyone spent in thousands and chattered in millions. Scoffers could scoff and be damned. I made a host of fair-weathered friends. My drinking assumed more serious proportions, continuing all day and almost every night. So you can see now that his drinking is becoming progressive, kind of like how we're using it, right? Oh, I'll only use half a gram. Next thing you know, it's a gram. Next thing you know, it's until later in the morning. And then we start buying our preferred substance on Wednesdays instead of Fridays for the weekend. And the weekend's now starting on Tuesdays. And and then the weekend is just like all of the time. And then it's not a weekend anymore. It's just we're using because, right? So our disease is progressive. The remonstrance of my friends terminated in a row, and I became a lone wolf. There were many unhappy scenes in our sumptuous apartment. There had been no real infidelity, for loyalty to my wife, helped at times by extreme drunkenness, kept me out of those scrapes. So he's saying he couldn't cheat on his wife because he couldn't get it out because he was too drunk. And now most of his friends have left him because his consumption is just too much. So usually when that happens, we find friends who are closer to our substances. So these friends don't like how I'm using, so I'm going to find friends who do use like me. Or maybe I've come to a point where I would rather just use by myself, because then I'm not having to participate in anybody else's addiction use. Like sharing sucks when you have a large consumption, right? In 1929, I contracted Gulf fever. We went at once to the country, my wife to applaud while I started out to overtake Walter Hagen. Walter Hagen was like the Tiger Woods of his day. Liquor caught up with me much faster than I came up behind Walter. I began to be jittery in the morning. So now he's drinking, consuming quite a bit, and he's feeling physical issues. Kind of like when you call the guy to come over, and you're sitting on the can because you can't control your bowels because they're on their way over, or they've given you the call saying, yeah, I'm there in 5, or whatever it is, right? Same idea. Gulf permitted drinking, Every day and every night it was fun to roam around the exclusive course which had inspired such awe in me as a lad. I acquired the impeccable coat of a tan one sees upon the well-to-do. The local banker watched me roll fat checks in and out of his till with amused skepticism. Abruptly in October 1929, hell broke loose on the New York Stock Exchange after one of those days of inferno. I wobbled from a hotel bar to a brokerage office. It was 8 o'clock, 5 hours after the market closed. The ticker still clattered. I was staring at an inch of tape which bore the inscription XYZ minus 32. It had been 52 that morning. I was finished, and so were many friends. The papers reported men jumping to death from the towers of high finance. And this is very important to remember here. That disgusted me. I would not jump. I went back to the bar. My friends had dropped several millions since then. O'clock, so what? Since 10 o'clock, so what? Tomorrow was another day, as I drank the old fierce determination to win came back. We're going to stop there because we're over 10 minutes. But remember, at this point, our old buddy Bill would not try to kill himself like the other folks did in 1929 October. A very unfortunate situation. You can look it up. That's the beginning of the Dirty 30s when the stock market went to hell. A little bit of an exercise today. What I would encourage you to do is write down all of the characteristics that your higher power may have. So characteristics meaning, forgiving, loving, so on and so forth. All the characteristics that you think your higher power would have to be a higher power. If you could write that down on a piece of paper, it'd be super cool. And leave comments in the bottom if you like on what characteristics your higher power has. Be super awesome if folks would participate. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks again for watching these videos. I really hope that it's helping you.